Magic. It's not only an easy explanation for anything humanity can't explain, it's also a great way of messing with people on the street and cutting women in half. And boy howdy, Hollywood loves magic. Well, when it's covered in CGI, because, Hollywood. But what about those times we're given front row seats to actual magic? Well, I'm Michael Caan. I can see that. I can see it. Better. Okay. And here's a bunch of times actual magic tricks were used to accomplish these feats of, magic. What's something really hack to say right now? Abracadabra? Abracadabra. Of course, I am contractually obligated to start with a Marvel film, so let's go with Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Sometimes you just gotta get it out,
In Ant-Man and the Wasp, Paul Rudd actually performs several card tricks, including this one wherein he vomits cards to make his daughter laugh. In a world where just about everything is CGI, this simple card manipulation is something just about anyone can learn. These are broken. So when I was tasked with this video, I hadn't realized just how much Hollywood really doesn't like to show magic tricks using actual, magic tricks. Sometimes it's deceptive camera work or CGI, and often they just cut away to close-ups, severing the viewer's connection to the beauty of the trick itself. This scene from The Recruit, wherein Al Pacino tears up a newspaper and then seemingly reforms it for Colin Farrell's entertainment, might have been a legit trick Pacino learned for the role, but it's hard to tell because of those dang cutaways. Well, the incredible Burt Wonderstone does things a little differently. As you can see, this routine in which Steve Buscemi is seemingly hanged only to be replaced by Steve Carell is done in one continuous shot without any Hollywood trickery. This was thanks partially to Terror Train's very own David Copperfield assisting with the magic tricks on the film. As YouTuber Wes Barker points out, all you have to do to see where the trickery occurs is pay attention to Carell's hands in this shot. Boop! There he goes. A lot of the small tricks throughout Burt Wonderstone are either Hollywood trickery or close-ups of real magicians' hands doing the tricks, but in this case you gotta give it up to the performers themselves. And, human owl David Copperfield showing them how to do it. Speaking of Wes, I actually watched a bunch of his videos to prepare for this video because I, shock of shocks, am not a magician. So before I continue, big thanks to Wes, whose channel is just to the point I actually wound up stumbling on him explaining tricks I already had in my script, which definitely not frustrating. Anyway, he also talks about this scene in Elf, wherein Will Ferrell's buddy uses a pretty simple palming trick, in which he pretends to pick up a cotton ball only to have another in his opposite hand to pull from James Caan's ear. Speaking of palming, in Now You See Me 2, we get this extreme card sequence, wherein our nefarious magicians treat this card like they're in the Matrix in order to keep it out of sight from these guards. While a lot of the scene is done through pretty obvious digital trickery, most of the tricks are real and being performed by the cast themselves thanks to a buttload of training in palming and card manipulation. One of my favorite moments is how, if you look closely, Woody Harrelson connects the card to a string so that it can be run through his shirt. But it's so fast you might have missed it, just like with a real magician. Oddly enough, one of the things that's probably not actually real in the scene, but whatever. The Now You See Me duology is full of legit tricks enhanced by big budget effects, including this one from the first film in which Jesse Eisenberg uses a technique known as forcing to get the audience member to pick the card he wants her to pick. Of course, he then has her card disappear and a whole building lights up to show the card, which is, it's doable under extreme conditions, I guess, but the card force is a standard for magicians and one just about anyone can use, including Eisenberg, who does it so well here that chances are you and this audience member picked the same card. For a deeper dive, magician Chris Ramsey actually has a great video explaining some tried and true card forcing methods. And none of which include any Jedi, am I right? Hey-o, come on! Yeah! Ha! You over there, in the cheap seats, good for you. Another fairly stock, but nonetheless impressive card trick occurs in My Cousin Vinny. You can just barely see where Joe Pesci uses some super smooth card manipulation to switch out the cards right here. Never doubt the Pesh.
It has to be an illusion, because you're innocent.
There's a really fun palming technique used in the classic spoof Airplane, wherein Leslie Nielsen appears to pull several eggs out of this woman's mouth. Something my browser history. This is pretty simple. Instead of actually pulling any eggs out, the woman is presenting either a single egg or something resembling one while Nielsen palms the actual eggs up to her mouth and pretends to pull them out. Then when he cracks one open to reveal a little bird, that bird is actually under what looks like paper in the cup. When Nielsen cracks the empty egg, he sets the bird free, and you can see its little barrier push up a bit as it flies off. Of course, no list about stunts, even magic stunts, is complete without Tom Cruise. In the original Mission Impossible, Ethan Hunt makes a floppy disk disappear. Oh, okay, technically it's a magneto-optical disc, but you get the idea. Tom Cruise actually did this trick using sleight of hand he had learned for the role. Now, this one might be a bit contentious because I don't think there's a way for Ethan to have actually pulled this off as the film shows, since it would almost definitely require a whole dang noisy contraption under his sleeve. But Penn Jillette in his Vanity Fair video does at least confirm it's possible. And of course, Wes also talked about it in one of his 1,000 or so videos, and again, possible, just not exactly as we see or hear it. Oh look, another card trick, great. This one I really just wanted to include because it's Magic, starring Anthony Hopkins, a film I quite like and figured, hey, it's probably got some real magic in it, and sure enough, this sequence in which Hopkins performs a pretty standard routine wherein his dummy Fats picks a card and he transforms one card into another while in the puppet's hand is entirely possible, although it's almost definite that creative editing was used just based on how the shots are edited together, but you know, it could have been done for real. The movements Hopkins utilizes in working the cards, however, is a product of him training for the role. As part of this training, he also learned to throw his voice, meaning that when it came time for Fats to speak, no dubbing was necessary. This one is a biggie, and a nice surprise for me. Magic Camp, the Disney Plus movie all about, well, magic. Magic Camp, where kids learn how to perform magic. And not that Harry Potter stuff. No. Actual magic tricks so they can be the next, I don't know, Neil Patrick Harris or Owl Person or whatever. While there are plenty of Hollywoodized scenes in the film, for the most part we get a very realistic look at these tricks. This dove in a cup trick, for example, has a super simple and easily visible solution, while this trick in which two kiddos switch places in a box is so good because not only is it a great trick done well, but the trick itself is shown without any cuts, meaning that the switch is technically done on camera. And that's pretty cool, and not something you see very often in movies and TV, making this not only one of the best magic movies out there, but also a great option for parents who want their magic-obsessed kids to have some realistic expectations. So what about movies like The Illusionist and The Prestige? With all this yammering on about legit magic tricks in movies, it's crazy to think there's not a whole lot of real deal magic happening in these pretty fantastic, technically ornate films. While most of the tricks, like Hugh Jackman's teleporting man routine, are based on real performances, none of them really pass muster as legit. They're all Hollywoodized and given a little in-camera or digital trickery to make them work. The orange tree bit from The Illusionist is probably the best example. While it is derived from very real historical precedent, the real deal isn't nearly as impressive to modern audiences, so instead we get a CGI plant. It's cool, and in the film itself this is presented as someone's memory of the trick, but it is nonetheless nowhere near to real-life magic. So yeah, those are a few examples, and the big takeaway is, yeah, not a whole lot of real magic in Hollywood. And that's okay. This is not me complaining. Magic is, after all, a trick, and in movies, filmmakers have far more tools at their disposal to create that trick. So why not use them?